to Cincinnati Soccer Talk, powered by FC Cincinnati supporters. Get in touch, soccer fans. Email us at cincysoccertalk@spmt.tv. Now, here is your host, Nick Suberling.
Hey, what's happening, Cincinnati Soccer Talkers? Welcome to a special edition, a free-for-all of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. We want to hear from you tonight, folks. If you're watching us live on YouTube and on Facebook, we want to hear from you regarding the FC Cincinnati soccer-specific stadium possibly being put in the city of Oakley, or the neighborhood of Oakley, whatever you want to call it, the suburb of Oakley. We want to hear from you tonight. Get in touch with us on the King's Hammer hotline, 513-399-KICK. We've got lines available right now. Have your say. If you're not happy about the stadium location being in Oakley, give us a ring. We want to hear from you. We want to hear everybody's opinion tonight. Maybe you like it. Maybe you're on the fence. Maybe you don't care where it is as long as it's built. That's okay. We want to hear from you tonight. Give us a ring, 513-399-KICK. And, of course, if you don't want to have your voice heard here on the show, we'll be reading YouTube comments and Facebook comments as well, just so that we get some more engagement on this very special edition of the podcast. Of course, I'm not flying alone tonight. I've got some tag team partners joining me this week. Let's start first and foremost with Brad Weigel. Brad, how are you?
Good, man. I'm sure Jeff Birding from now on would like you to specify Oakley as the urban core neighborhood of Oakley.
The urban core neighborhood of Oakley. Okay, I can
urban core.
I can work on that. Good to have you this week, Brad. I'm looking forward to getting your take on the stadium.
Thank you.
Of course, we've also
excited to be it.
Yeah, absolutely. We're also got the Wolfman, Bill Wolf, back with us this week. Bill, what's up?
Hey, I'm just loving this little extra CST midweek.
Yeah, nothing like a spod. I almost said spod special. Spod special this week here on the show. I feel like we just talked with you not that long ago. Oh, yeah, it was Monday. Good to have you back, though. Looking forward to getting your take, as always. And last but not least, making his triumphant return to the show. We haven't heard from this gentleman in quite a while. The one and only Griffin. Griffin, what's up, bud?
Hey, Shubes. Glad to be on the B team.
That is the nickname that Brian Weigel, who is standing by waiting to take your call tonight on the King's Hammer hotline, has designated this crew tonight. So the B squad is just as good as the A squad in my book. I've got a good cast of characters with me here this evening to talk about the stadium and possibly going in the city of Oakley. I'm sorry, the urban core center of Cincinnati, Oakley. Did I get it right, Brad?
Yeah, well, first of all, Oakley is a neighborhood of Cincinnati in the city of Cincinnati. So let's go with urban core.
Urban core, Oakley. Can I just say the urban core of Oakley?
Whatever it takes to get a team in MLS in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I'm already getting heckled by the crowd tonight about my poor jokes. Okay, time to move on. Let's talk about this. It was kind of, I don't know if it was necessarily officially announced, but Jeff Birding went on the Lance McAllister show a couple evenings ago. I think it was last night, actually, and basically was filling people in about something happening in Oakley. They had their meeting last night of the commissioners there in Oakley, held a vote of 9-1, I believe, as far as approving a potential project to go on there in the city of Oakley. You hear this news, guys, and are you thinking this is a done deal in Oakley, or are you thinking this is just another option available to the club?
I think Birding was quoted last night on Lance's show and today in his press conference is saying that Oakley is the preferred Ohio site. So is it the number one site? Yeah, I think that there's enough speculation that leads us towards it, but it's definitely the preferred site. But I think it's good that they're still exploring all three sites. What's to say that we can't, if we get the bid, we can't upgrade if we find an option in OTR, or we can't improve upon the Newport situation. So, I think the Oakley site is one that they're definitely centering on, but I'm not sure it's a done deal yet.
Yeah, and I think he's also come out pretty clearly and said that, all three sites are still on the table. Nothing is shut down at this point. Even if they, lock in Oakley for the bid, that even doesn't rule out the other two later on. Obviously, they're not going to wait forever. They have to make a decision at some point. But I think it just comes down to logistics of figuring out which one looks the best on paper for the MLS bid. And right now, what they're able to do in Oakley seems like it's going to be, in their opinion, the best visual for the MLS bid. And not necessarily the stadium itself, but what it looks like on paper. And silence.
I was fully expecting Griff to hop in there. Griff, do you have an opinion on this?
Yeah, I think we've been spoiled since day one in every aspect of this club, and the fact that we have 3 options right now is pretty amazing. So, I'm not upset that it's in Oakley. It may not be in a downtown per se area that people want, but if we get a stadium that gets us MLS, that's the goal here. So let's not be too picky.
Yeah, and Griff, I think you were actually out on social media today, and I really appreciated one of your comments that you made, which was basically, again, how spoiled we are, which is what you led in with this, but saying, we're sitting down here, trying to figure out which stadium's the best, and we got everybody's, basically, I like Oakley, I like OTR, I like Newport, and everybody's arguing over which site's the best. And then just north of us in Columbus, we've got a poor team up there that, they might get moved, and the fans are thinking they may not have a team at all. And, to keep the team, they have to find a stadium, and they don't even have location 1 yet. So, we got Columbus who's struggling to keep a team and trying to find a location for a stadium. And we're down here spoiled rotten with 3 of them, which gives us actually the ability to argue with each other about it.
Right. You got people here in Cincinnati threatening to drop season tickets because the stadium isn't where they want it to be, but you got people in Columbus that may not have a club to watch here in the next year or 2.
It really is kind of baffling to me too when you think about all of the negative reactions. It wasn't all that long ago, guys, when we were sitting here pretty much saying that it was bang on that they were going to be in Newport, and the reaction from folks like the folks that built it here, being very upset about it going to Kentucky, and now here we are. We've got a chance to build it here in the state of Ohio. And people are still, I guess I don't understand why the negativity. Shouldn't we, as a fan base, as supporters, just be happy that this process is moving forward? And the fact that soccer-specific stadium, a discussion is being held amongst governments within this city is remarkable in itself. Just think about it from that aspect.
Well,
this club, when it was formed 2 years ago, I don't think soccer-specific stadium was even at the top of not even close to the top of the list of priorities.
Yeah, I think that you have a point there where, we should be happy that we have the opportunity to have a soccer-specific stadium. And yes, with 4 to 5 weeks till MLS actually makes the decision, we do need to have something under lock and key that we can go with. But I also don't think it's a bad thing, or it's improper of people to voice their displeasure. I mean, that's what makes this our community, and that's what makes this thing awesome. And I think these people have the right to go out there and say, no, we want this in a community setting. So if we actually do go with, into Oakley, we're going to fight as a group to get this how we want. We want to get the right atmosphere. We want to get the right environment. We want the club to make concessions for what we need, a walking bridge in that area. So I don't think it's the wrong thing that they're fighting for it. And I think I think the club's shown a willingness to listen and to get this done right if it is done in Oakley.
And that's the thing, we want to hear from folks who have different opinions on this stadium. This is what the show is for tonight. We want to hear from you. Again, that number 513-399-KICK. Have your say. Are you happy about the stadium location being in Oakley? If you're not happy about it, can you fill us in on why what is your displeasure with the fact that it could possibly be in Oakley? I've seen a lot of folks commenting about it being something about the traffic there in Oakley near I-71, which there were arguments for that no matter which stadium location was going to be placed. If you put it in Newport, there were going to be traffic concerns there on the river, on the bridges. So there's always going to be pros and cons to each location, but we want to hear from you and your specific reasons why you're happy or not happy about this specific location here in Oakley. Let's go to the King's Hammer hotline. Let's welcome in Bjorn to the show. Bjorn, welcome to Cincinnati Soccer Talk. How are you, buddy?
All right, guys. How you doing?
Doing well. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I just don't understand why people are so angry about it being in Oakley. You know, it's like it's not hip. It's not hip like OTR, and I guess that's what they want. They want to be in the hip, place. And Oakley, it's going to be much easier for the club to purchase the Oakley site than it is the West End site. The West End site, they're going to have to deal with Cincinnati Public Schools that owns Stargill Stadium, and then all the homeowners around it. And it's going to be much easier for them to purchase the old Millicron site than the West End site.
So I take it, Bjorn, you're in favor of Oakley.
Look, I'm just trying to state a fact there. You know, it is much easier to purchase something from one person than from 50. And as long as it's not in Newport, I'm fine, because I don't want to hear the KFC or the Newport FC stuff. Because it is Cincinnati, and Oakley's part of Cincinnati. Whether people think it's not, it's still part of Cincinnati.
Well, I think it's interesting as well. I mean, obviously, maybe the people that we reach out to through this show, the people who are communicating very actively with us right now, fit a certain demographic that is, anti-Oakley. But, I don't think that I think it's fair to say that the club is not, going off to Oakley knowing that like somehow nobody likes it. And, I talked to Jeff Birding about this a little bit. They did a survey earlier this year where they asked people about their preferences on the site. 7,000 fans responded to that survey. So it's not, a small group, but over 7,000 people responded. And Oakley had, significant interest. So it's not like Oakley was a distant third that nobody really likes the site. I mean, FCC understands that maybe some people would be unhappy because they'll be unhappy no matter where we choose. But Oakley's not a distant third where nobody likes this. There is a significant group of people that responded to that survey that preferred Oakley.
Yeah, I mean, Bill has it right. I mean, people are complaining about traffic. There's traffic everywhere. Yeah. And there's always going to be traffic on game day. And they're like, well, on Sundays. Well, hopefully we won't have Sunday games, and they're like, oh, but the bars. There's plenty of bars close to that site. Plus, they're going to be building retail space around it. So I'm sure more bars will open up for supporter groups to go to.
Absolutely.
It's not just the site that's being built. It's they're trying to build like a whole area. They're trying to do, what the Banks is failing to do. That's what they want to do around, the soccer stadium. So I don't understand that argument.
Yeah, and what makes us different than, say, some of the fairground sites or where the Columbus Crew are at now, where the club is looking to build in Oakley, there's stuff there already. Plus, they're going to continue to improve on it. It's not like it's just a concrete canvas and they're praying to God that something happens over, a 10-year period. I mean, there's stuff there. And I think FC Cincinnati, the way this community is buying into the club, you've seen all the businesses flock to Clifton just to take advantage of, the FC Cincinnati atmosphere and compete for those dollars. I think you're going to see that same thing happen wherever the stadium goes, especially in Oakley.
Bjorn, appreciate the call, man.
Brad
Guys.
already called it that he's going to be tailgating in Sam's parking lot. So
no, I'm not. Well, I said I'm going to get the $1 hot dogs and pizza slices in the exit area.
Well, it's kind of funny. I was going to say, when we did our bus trip, I'm pretty sure we organized our meetup to catch the bus not that far from where the stadium's going to be built there in Oakley. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys.
No, it was Target, I think.
Yeah, right there.
So there's a reason why we picked that area. We picked that area because folks from Kentucky could get there, folks that live in Mason and Westchester. It was this not necessarily a centralized location, but I just felt like it was an easy place for everybody to get to. Now, that's on a much, 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 much smaller scale than an FC Cincinnati game, but there's a reason why we picked that location.
Yeah, and also just to kind of continue that discussion on traffic and such. And Bjorn brought it up, obviously, but don't forget that on Tuesday, Jeff Birding went to the Oakley Community Council meeting, and he didn't go alone. I mean, he brought with him Cincinnati's Director of Transportation and Engineering. So, I mean, you're basically bringing in somebody who is in charge of traffic and fixing traffic problems. So, they're making those connections already with Oakley. They're trying to figure out what they can do, and my feeling is that there's already plans in the works from the sounds of things. So I don't think we're going to be like, what we have is what we get. Good luck. I hope you can all make it to the game. That's definitely not the idea.
We got this comment on YouTube. This is from Ginger Lee. It says, since it's not downtown or the urban core, the descriptions that are usually thrown around with soccer stadiums, it may not be seen as good enough to match other new stadiums. What do you guys make of that comment?
I think that's a valid comment, but the thing is that the competition we're going against is Detroit, where they're playing in Ford. They want to go and play in Ford Field in an NFL stadium, and Nashville is in the fairgrounds, similar to Columbus. So, we're not going into a empty hole in the wall place. We're going into a community that is, it's definitely improving. It's on the rise. So it's like I said, it's not like we're going in the middle of nowhere. We're going into an established area with, I think, a developing community feel that would attract people, and you do attract people there no matter what. If a stadium was there or not. I mean, look at all the success you've had with it's not the Matry, right?
Yeah,
Matry.
Yeah, right there. So I mean, Oakley's definitely drawing stuff. It's not like they're going to build a soccer stadium next to the the NASCAR track in Nashville and then hope development comes. There's already development there, and it's already a good community where I think everybody feels safe going. I think you have families there that are willing to take their kids and spend money in that area. So it's not a threatening site at all.
Yeah, and it's literally right at the corner of Norwood Lateral and 71. So, I mean, talk about access to the west side, talk about access to the north side, south. I mean, it should be fairly accessible from a highway standpoint, which people will really appreciate as well.
Yeah, let's not act like this is Mason. This is Oakley.
Yeah, it is actually
from Hyde Park.
The core. I know it's not like downtown, but it is still the core. I mean, it's central compared to, Anderson or Mason, Harrison.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Brad earlier today about another MLS hopeful, Phoenix. I believe Phoenix Stadium is next to a water park and a mobile home park. So
there's nothing there.
Right. We're not building on a fairground. We're not building next to nothing. This has potential.
And a point I think she's trying to make, and I've stated this before, and I think a lot of us have, is the only thing that might be a little disappointing with the Oakley site versus it being at Newport and it being in OTR is we wanted to have that wow factor. And I think if we would have gotten, that OTR site, I think we would have been a shoe-in. The Oakley, the prestige does come down a little bit. Let's be honest, it does come down a little bit. You're not going to see the stadium from the river. You're not going to see the skyline. But I don't think it hurts us. If it was in Mason, yeah, that kills us. But it's in Oakley. It's an area that MLS is approved of. So I don't think it's a deal breaker. But I guess I'm saying it doesn't give us that lock. Let's say an OTR would have.
We want to hear from folks, though, that, if you don't like the stadium site in Oakley, this is your chance to chime in and have your say. Get in touch with us on the Kings Hammer hotline, 513-399-KICK. Of course, if you want to tweet your thoughts, you can over at Cincy Soccer Talk. That is our Twitter handle, and we'll read some of the best tweets that we get tonight. Or if you want to email us, you can, feedback@CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. We'd love to hear your feedback on what could potentially be the next location for the Cincinnati soccer-specific stadium. Let's go back to the Kings Hammer hotline, though, and welcome in a good friend of the show, Chris Weimer. Chris, welcome, buddy.
Hey, Buzz. How are you guys doing?
We're doing well. What's on your mind?
Not much. I'm across the board. I'm fine with any of the locations. Wherever the Orange and Blue are playing, I'm probably going to be there yelling and screaming. But I was thinking about it today, and I kind of like the Oakley. It kind of gives it a Wrigley feel, like a Wrigleyville. Like you have a chance to build like a Wrigleyville in a neighborhood, and I think Madison could support some bar life and different things like that. But I mean, I'm open to anything, and I think that's how everybody should be. Just open and just be humble and lucky enough that we actually have this opportunity. I mean, 2 years ago, if we asked ourselves, they're going to build a stadium in Oakley, would we have taken it at that point? We would have been all over it. Yeah, we're going to be in the MLS and playing in Oakley. Every one of us would have took that. So, I mean, we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves. I think we just need to just take a step back and just say, hey, enjoy this moment. Enjoy the times that we're going to be coming over the next month and a half. Because I think it's going to be exciting times for everybody in the Orange and Blue. So that's my 2 takes on it.
We appreciate the call, Chris. Thanks for holding, and don't be a stranger, all right, bud?
All right, bye.
That's Chris Weimer chiming in tonight. Yeah, I mean, I kind of said those same things earlier. Like the fact that we're having a episode of this podcast dedicated strictly to the stadium location and where it's going to be. I mean, that's remarkable. So that's another voice of maybe a vote for don't care where it's at, just build it. I know that's kind of where I'm at. I'm at a point now where I just want the team to get into MLS and the stadium be built so that this team can kind of take that next step and start being not that they're not profitable now. I'm assuming they are, considering Jeff Burning announced on the Lance McAllister show earlier this week that they, according to Dick's Sporting Goods, FC Cincinnati is the number 3 retailer as far as merchandise goes in the United States, according to Dick's Sporting Goods. So that's when you heard that, guys. I mean, that kind of raised my eyebrows a little bit.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. I'm not sure exactly what that means, and people have put out a lot of questions, and I haven't really heard answers. You know, is that sales within Dick's Sporting Goods nationwide, or is that somehow a bigger story? But in either case, it's impressive. So yeah, I think it's awesome. Obviously, there's a lot of passion here in the city, and you know, I think coming back around to what Chris just said on air here, to me, it's just like, you know, amazing that we can actually argue about this. If we had put out one stadium, you know, we'd all be talking about, you know, where can I buy my shirts and how many seats are going to be in it? Nobody would care what the location is. So, you know, here we are arguing about locations and silly things where, you know, maybe it's just more important to kind of move on to this point and let the guys figure it out. What's the best deal for this, the MLS bid? Let's get behind it.
Well, one of the stadium locations we thought was going to be in Newport there in Northern Kentucky. And let's go to Northern Kentucky and speak with Jeff, who is in Fort Mitchell. Jeff, welcome to Cincinnati Soccer Talk. Jeff, you with us? I guess we lost Jeff. Well, we lost Jeff. Maybe we'll try him back here in a minute. Yeah, so never mind. We'll move on. Brad, you wanted to talk about the fact that Jeff also mentioned on the Lance McAllister show the other evening that the ownership investment has now increased up to $300 million.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that was a significant news that he dropped the last night. Today is about how that the ownership group has added another $50 million to add to the stadium, and so that brings the total stadium cost to 150. Plus, they're still going to ask for 100, so it's going to be $250 million stadium. And I think they were talking about how it's going to go to 25,000 seats. So that just shows that the demand is there. You look at how many season tickets we're selling now, what it's going to be then. And, I just think that these are great things that we can sell MLS on about how we're a stadium that really craves this, loves this team, and we're here to stay, and we would be a good investment for the league in the long haul.
Let's go back to the Kings Hammer Hotline. I think we've got Jeff back on the phone. Jeff, are you with us now? Hello, Jeff. I can't hear Jeff. All right, then. We're 0 for 2. I think we got to fire Brian Weigel. He's our screener tonight.
He's the D-team screener.
Well, the question is it Big Brian or Little Brian who's running the screening room?
Oh, that's funny. karma, Bri. Well, hopefully we'll get Jeff on the phone. Hopefully we will. But I think that's a sign that there are folks in this city that are ready to jump on board. This isn't, we heard about this recently with Columbus about how they approached all those businesses not too long ago about getting on board and they couldn't get in touch with anybody. I feel like if you're Jeff Birding and Carl Lindner III, I mean, their phones have got to be ringing off the hook with people wanting to get on board. I mean, that's awesome.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just, we've been so successful. Everybody wants to be a part of the brand at this point. So, I mean, it's phenomenal. You see shirts everywhere you go. The city's behind it. So, I think the stadium is just a phenomenal thing. I mean, January, we're talking about a 21,000 seat stadium, which is the MLS minimum bid. By, November, we're talking about a 25,000 seat stadium because we sold more than 21,000 seats on average per game this year.
Yeah, and do a little comparison, Bill. I think the Portland Timbers Stadium, what does it house? Just over 20 or 21. Mm-hmm. They reserve, I think it's roughly around 5,000 for walk-ups.
Yeah,
and so there's countless people on a waiting list for season tickets. So I think it's a good move by the club to go ahead and increase the seating from the original plan.
And it's huge too, right? I mean, the club has said from day one that cost overruns, maintenance, all these things are going to be the club's responsibility. This is not, the Bengals. This is not the Reds. This is not a situation where the county has to pony up money to maintain the stadiums or to pay extra if the construction gets higher than expected. And the club's been, true to their word. I mean, they came back and said, well, we asked for $100 million. We need to increase the size of the stadium. That's going to be on us. So I think that's great. Nobody's talking 150 million asked right at this point.
Let's go back to the Kings Hammer hotline. Let's try. This is going to be possibly strike three, or we're going to hit a home run here with Jeff. Are you with us?
Come on, Jeff.
What's going on, gentlemen? How you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm doing well. It's definitely ironic how we've got UC, Xavier, and Kentucky all ranked in the top 15 in the country in basketball, but we're talking about soccer, which is super cool.
It's amazing. We love it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm born and raised in Northern Kentucky, and it's kind of funny how your hotline is sponsored by a club out of Northern Kentucky, Kings Hammer.
That's right. It's
absolutely.
Yeah. What's on your mind tonight, Jeff?
So, well, I tell you what, it's been funny that this divide, it seems like, since this conversation between Newport and Cincinnati is just it's like the Ohio River might as well be the Atlantic Ocean between Ohio and Kentucky in regards to the respect that people have for us over here. I mean, I'm born and raised in Northern Kentucky, and my family's had season tickets for the Reds since back in the day. And between walking across the bridge has just been a tradition of mine since my daughter's 8 years old. Grabbing a bite to eat, walking across the bridge to a Reds game has been phenomenal. And I think if people actually know where that location in Newport actually is, if they actually see it, it's on the river right there, within a mile and a half of both Paul Brown and the Red Stadium. They would realize that it's an ideal situation for the soccer stadium to be right there on the river, overlooking downtown, and it has that Cincinnati field where Oakley's going to be out there by Kroger, Meijer, Fresh Time, your chain restaurants or whatnot. I think the feel of Nippert and Clifton, the urban feel up there, people love Cincinnati. That's how it kind of got its vibe. And Nippert's sick, unbelievable in itself. I think that Oakley's just going to kind of have that Applebee's feel, if you will. I hate to say it that bluntly, to where
I love Applebee's.
Newport might be a little bit more organic, to where it's right there. You know what I mean?
I'm more of a Chili's guy,
I'm just tossing
Jeff.
my Kentucky 2 cents out there.
No.
He just ripped on the neighborhood restaurant.
Yeah,
feeling good in the neighborhood.
I see what you're saying. And I'll be upfront with you, Jeff. I'm not one who was opposed to Northern Kentucky. I thought with it being on the river, it was going to look great. And I guess there is still the potential that it could be there. So that has not been written off at all. I mean, Jeff Birding
Sure.
mentioned that has mentioned that they're with ongoing discussions right now with all three places. I just think that they have kind of the timetable. They're kind of getting under the gun here with all these other cities announcing stadium deals and plans, and now they're kind of under the gun here. They need to get going and getting some sort of movement with these different locales. And so I think the fact that they've kind of already had Newport. I don't know if the word shovel ready is the right way to look at it, but if something were to fall through with Oakley, which they said is their preferred Ohio destination, that's what the way he worded
That's
it.
clear in itself.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Hey, man, I think a lot of these fans, the FC Cincinnati fans who live in Cincinnati, I think they hear the word Oakley and it sounds sexy. But if they actually saw where the site was, my dad actually worked at Millercron for 40 years.
So did my dad.
So if they saw, that's too funny. I'll be darned. If they saw where the site is, they would be like, well, you know what? This isn't like right next door to Rheingeist, the Taft Ale House. I think all these hipsters want the spot right next to Washington Park. It's just simply not going to happen. You kind of have to, if you kind of embrace a little bit of where the Newport location is, just walking distance. And I had heard, water taxis go on in between the banks over to the river. I mean, what a cool experience to kind of take a water taxi over with the flags and everything else, kind of just go on a 2-minute river ride, even if that, to go across the river over to Cincinnati, much less, those areas down by the Roebling Bridge that are walking distance to where the Ovation location is in Newport. And for 50, 60, 70 years, these our fans have been used to going to Reds and Bengals games down on the river. It's a natural transition just to bust on down 75, 71, 275, or wherever the heck it is. And then you know where you're parking, you know where you're having cocktails, you know where you're having appetizers. Then you walk to the stadium. Walking across a 1 mile, river, so to speak, over in the middle of Kentucky, it just can be the exact same aspect. You don't even know if you're in Kentucky or Ohio half the time when people who are from out of town. It's right across the river. Either the Purple People Bridge or the beautiful Roebling Bridge. Walk across there, you bust a left, a 2-minute walk, done deal. It's the exact same thing as Mecklenburg Gardens and all those awesome bars that are walking distance from Clifton over to Nippert. I love Nippert, and I'm a Kentucky grad. I love Nippert. I mean, who does not? I mean, what a beautiful stadium. It is what it is. It's not an option. I mean, I think that's gone, but I think people just kind of going down there once they, do their same routine for Reds and Bengals. It's just going across the river over to Newport to a beautiful Real Madrid type of stadium, or a replica of the stadium, but obviously 30,000 less. That it would be just an ideal location. And from what I saw, the one end zone is overlooking just kind of downtown. I mean, super super sick, super cool, right there. I just think Oakley's kind of just more, it doesn't have that urban Nippert feel that everyone loves. That where on the river, if I could get you your Nippert, and I do dig that, but it's going to get you back on the river that everyone that I all of us are, buddies and big fans. We all love, the river, Cincy. It's right there in Cincy. I know it's in the Commonwealth, but it is what it is. But anywho, fellas, I was just kind of calling in tonight. I've never even heard of your, podcast, but just kind of want to reach out tonight.
You never heard of us?
Oh man, I was right there with you, Jeff, until you said
Twitter. I should say that. I follow you guys on Twitter. You guys do a great job.
Well, we're glad that you called in. You had a lot of good points tonight, and the next time we open up the phone lines, you should call back in because we like your energy, man.
Yeah, man, keep me on speed dial for sure, man. You guys are awesome, man. Y'all do a great job, and hopefully we get this settled down. We cannot lose this to Nashville. It's not an option.
I hear you, Jeff.
Agreed.
Jeff, thanks for the call, buddy.
Have a good evening, fellas.
You too. That's Jeff from Fort Mitchell giving us a ring, clearly in support of the Northern Kentucky site, which is a fine, good site, has a lot of pros and cons as well. So that's kind of the first, I would say the first negative feedback we've heard about Oakley tonight. So if you're watching this live, we've got quite a few of you on Facebook and on YouTube watching us. Get in touch. We want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on the stadium being in Oakley? What do you like? What do you dislike about that option? 513-399-KICK.
I think Jeff made some really good points. Our fans, they're not going to drive downtown to go to dinner and go to the bars and then drive out to Oakley, versus if it was in Newport, you could go down, you can enjoy the banks, you could enjoy all those wonderful places in OTR. You could even take, go to OTR pregame, take the streetcar down to the banks and walk across the bridge and head over to the game in Newport. But there still is a lot to say about having it in Cincinnati and building it here. It's just, there's still something about it, even though I agree. Newport is a part of our community. It's part of our tri-state area, but it still isn't quite Cincinnati proper. And I think that there still is a little stigma to that that's going to be tough for some to overcome.
We got this great comment on YouTube from Mike Berryman. Says, I got to say the Oakley location is not that much different than Map-Free Stadium in Columbus, bounded by I-71 and railroad tracks.
Yeah, I get those two similarities, but they can't use the stadium for about 2 months out of the whole year, out of their season because of the state fair and this and that. And I mean, there's no place to go before the game. All you have the ability is to tailgate there. So I get what he's saying, but still, it's not the same. It's not the same as the Nashville Fairgrounds. There's definitely a heck of a lot more going on in Oakley than there would be in Columbus or Nashville.
I think also you got the potential for even more to happen, right? I mean, when you build it on a fairgrounds, you're not going to build a restaurant. You're not going to build a bar. You're not going to put in other things around that stadium because you're on the fairgrounds, right? So for us, I mean, we can look at what's there in Oakley now. We can look at what's in OTR. We can look at what's in Newport. And we could make decisions about which one we think is the best game day environment. But the reality is 4 or 5 years down the road, that game day environment is going to start to develop around the stadium because every one of these sites has the potential to grow and develop with the stadium.
Yeah, nothing says pre-gaming like endless appetizers at Applebee's.
Drop the Applebee's, man.
I'm more of a Chili's guy. What can I say?
I'm a Chili's guy too.
There's been a couple good points on Twitter about that stadium size, putting that extra $50 million, and some people I'm reading, they're saying 30,000. We've been drawing 30,000 for some of these big Open Cup games. Why don't we go even bigger? And I don't know if this current site is expandable, like they were talking about the Newport site would be expandable, hopefully. So if we did need to grow, we could grow. I'm sure there's going to be some aspects of the site we can grow, but we'll learn more about the stadium plans then. But I think I actually like the 25,000, cap, because I think it keeps it exclusive. It keeps, people's interest in wanting to go. You're seeing in stadiums across the country, especially in, say, Portland, for example, they have 8,000, I think, or more waiting list, and that gets people wanting to go to these games and keeping the demand high. And I know they're going to increase the size of their stadium now, but it's still going to keep the demand high. So I think 25,000 is that right number for the club. And in case if let's say it rains or anything happens and attendance falls a little bit, it's not going to look like a cavernous open spot in the stadium. So I think 25 is the right number. And you know what? If we prove them wrong, Uncle Carl, I think, has got some money in that pocketbook where he might be able to scratch a couple pennies together and expand the stadium.
Yeah, and if you read my article, basically Jeff Birding said that the stadium had been planned from day one, and I don't think the site matters anymore, because when they did the stadium unveiling, they said that they'd made the decision to have essentially the same stadium wherever the site was, that they weren't going to try to change it or make it different per site. So I think that the plan has always been from day one that they were going to have a 3-phase development to the stadium. Phase 1 was 21,000 seats, which was the minimum required for MLS. Phase 2 was 25,000, and then phase 3 was 30,000. And essentially all they've done is they've decided they're going to jump straight to phase 2. So now we have a 25,000 seat stadium. It's still expandable to 30. And I agree with you, Brad. I think, yes, we brought in 30 for some Open Cup games, but, I think, 25 is a good number. We're not, we need to get some more years under our belt. And if we're constantly hitting that wall and we're saying, we've got a waiting list, we've got, season ticket holders consistently coming, let's talk 30 at that point. But I don't see any point to jump that way right from the beginning.
Yeah, and before I would even want to jump to number 30, the 30,000 seats, I'd rather them spend that 50 or 100 million at cost and build an academy that's immaculate with the best practice fields that we can bring all the community, all the academies around town in. They can play there, they can practice there, and we can really grow this thing long term. So we, get the MLS, we can grow long term, your homegrown players, which is a huge thing. Not only being able to sign them, quote unquote, under MLS rules, less than a cap, but they're talking about when we sell them, we're going to be able to sell them for more money. So I'd rather them spend that 50 or 100 million on that and really build this thing. Because if you look at it all together, you're talking about the FC Cincinnati's contribution to the stadium, whatever government contributions to the stadium, and then whatever they built this academy. This is a $500 million investment in this community. We can't forget that. So when we keep saying Uncle Carl can come up with this, money, or he can pay for this whole thing himself, I mean, the guy is he's going to be putting in, all told, with the academy, everything, $350-400 million. That's a ton of money.
That's a lot. Yeah, it's huge. And the other thing I think that, I've seen it out on social media when he was when Jeff was giving his press conference today, now we're going to spend an extra $50 million and, we're not going to ask the community for more of it. And people started saying, well, wait, if we can just pull 50 out of your pocket, why do we have to ask for 100 at all? Why should we just, pay it all? I mean, if it's not that big a deal, but you have to come to remember as well, this $50 million that Carl has added on, or the ownership group, I should say, has added on to the stadium. There's revenue behind it, right? This is not just throwing money to build a wall. This is throwing money to put seats in there, and seats means selling tickets. So, if we believe, and I think we do believe now, being FCC, that we can sell those seats, then that 50 million starts to make sense, that we have an extra 5,000 seats or 4,000 seats and we can sell them consistently. We can make back some of that money. The 50 million has revenue potential down the road. The same thing with the 30,000. People are saying, well, hey, we did the Open Cup. We sold 3 Open Cup games at 30,000. Sure. We're probably not going to do Open Cup games like that once we get to the MLS. That was a magical run. It's not going to happen every year, but sure, maybe a playoff game, maybe a game here and there against a rival will hit 30,000. But if we can't hit 30,000 consistently, we can't put another $50 million into that stadium because we'll have a bunch of empty seats that aren't generating revenue. So, again, I think it's about smart investment and making sure that when we add to the stadium, like as in now, that we know that we will fill the seats that we're adding.
Of course, if you're watching us live here on Facebook or YouTube, we want to hear from you. Get in touch with us on the King's Hammer hotline, 513-399-KICK. We've got phone lines open. Are you happy with the Oakley location? Are you unhappy? What don't you like? What do you dislike about this? Get in touch, 513-399-KICK. Let's go to Paul, who joins us from Anderson. Paul, welcome to Cincinnati Soccer Talk.
Thank you for taking my call. I just wanted to say that my wife and I are season ticket holders. We live here in Anderson, and we think the Oakley is probably the best choice possible. I don't know, and I don't even think there's an Applebee's in Oakley, is there? I mean, I'm not sure.
I don't think
there will be. There will be.
I'm starting a franchise there. So.
Well, I think well, they're talking about not having enough bars and whatnot there. I guarantee you, they list this place as being the site of choice in Oakley, and that's where they're going to build. You're going to have some new bars come into the area pretty quick.
Yeah, look what happened to the streetcar and the development in OTR.
Well, I don't know if that's the place either. I would just that's why when that other gentleman was on the line talking about Northern Kentucky, the reason why people go to the Reds games and whatnot is because they're trying to get out of Newport, not trying to get in there.
Oh, dang.
Oh, man.
Jeff's going to have to call back.
I'm just messing around. I just think the Oakley call is much better. Like I said, we're season ticket holders. It's not far from here at all, and I'm sure that they're going to have plenty of bars and restaurants open up once they really get the deal rolling.
Why do you like Oakley, Paul?
Well, it's close by. I think it's a nice area. I don't have to travel to Newport. And it's not too far. I'm not going to Tri-County either. I mean, people talked about Mason and whatnot and all these places out in the outlying areas, and I just thought it was a much, much better call. I was very, very happy to hear the news today. Thank you, gentlemen, for taking my call.
Oh, thanks for holding. Thanks for being patient with us. We appreciate it, Paul.
No problem. Have a good night.
You too. That's Paul from Anderson. He's filling in or giving us a ring on the King's Hammer hotline. He's happy with the Oakley site. Again, we got lines open 513-399-KICK. Let's go to Yvette from Cincinnati. Yvette, welcome to Cincinnati Soccer Talk.
Hey, boys, it ain't a failed mayor. It's Bill Grindesto.
Oh, buddy. Hey, Bill, how's it going?
All right, well, first off, let's get things rolling. And I'm going to tell you what, Paul from Anderson making a big deal out of driving to Newport like it's freaking Siberia or something. Newport, Oakley, you coming from the east side, it's the same thing. Get over it. But, boys, I got great news. Great news.
Okay, what's that?
I'm very, very happy. You heard all of today's stadium news, right?
Yeah.
You know, everyone knows that I'm a Kentucky boy, born and raised in the bluegrass, love UK basketball, love Mountain Dew, love NASCAR, everything Kentucky stands for. Newport was my favorite, my number one, my true blood. And, it's today's stadium news. I got to tell you, I'm going to put my differences aside with everybody. I'm going to put my opinions aside. And I'm going to say straight up, I am happy that the club has found a location, has found a home, has found a way they can make money. It's got good bars and restaurants near it. It's a situation that makes the city happy. It makes the fans happy. It makes the county happy. And, boys, I can't wait. I just can't wait to welcome the team to Paul Brown Stadium. Todd Pertune, he did his due diligence, and finally everybody woke up. And I just can't wait. Paul Brown Stadium, 2019. We got the Bengals and we got the FC under the same roof. We're going to be rolling in the jungle. Y'all hear me?
Oh, man. That is great, Bill. I don't think that's happening, though. I think Jeff Birding kind of squashed that one last night on the Lance McAllister show.
Well, okay, I don't listen to Lance because he's a communist. But what are you saying? Where's the stadium? Where's the stadium going then?
Well, we still don't know. It's down to Jeff Birding mentioned that there are still 3 sites available that they're looking at: the West End, Newport, and now Oakley.
Well, I'll tell you what. I have been doing my due diligence and my research. I read the Bailey Facebook page every day, which is just oh boy, that's a mountain of knowledge right there. Nothing but great content. But I'll tell you what, Oakley is my least favorite location. I would say build it here in Newport or Paul Brown Stadium. I'm really, really just disappointed to hear this. Or why don't we? I say screw the MLS. Why don't we just play indoor down at the Riverfront Coliseum?
Yeah, that would be interesting, Bill. There's no question about that. I thought maybe you were going to say something like maybe FC Cincinnati should join NASL.
Well, I go back and forth on this. On one hand, MLS and Big Daddy Don Garber are corrupt as hell, man. And I'm committed to draining swamps wherever I can. But the NASL, as much as I like what they stand for, I've never met a dumber group of businessmen except for the time I hung out with the Enron brothers. I'm sorry, that reference is a little dated for probably some of our younger fans who probably weren't alive in '99, and apparently that's the ones we're catering to when we go to Oakley.
Oh shit!
I don't know why y'all laughing. I take this very, very seriously. If you follow me on Twitter, I'm passionate about 3 things: gods, guns, Kid Rock, and FC Cincinnati, and I take them all seriously.
Oh, Bill, we appreciate your call, and I'm glad that I've missed you. I'm not going to lie, Bill, I've missed you.
Yeah, sorry, man. I've been busy. I got a part-time job as a waiter here at Chili's, and I'm almost out of time here on my cigarette break, and I got to go. Actually, I got the food sitting right here. I got to go take it to the table. Happy eating, happy appetizers, happy life, happy wife. God bless. Y'all have a good night.
Thanks, Bill.
Oh, my gosh. I love when Bill calls.
Sweet dreams. Bye-bye.
Oh, man. That is great. I love hearing from Bill. He seemed to be really gung-ho, though, about Paul Brown Stadium. I don't think that's going to happen. Oh man, and crickets as we bring the show quickly to a halt. Well, let's get it going again, and welcome in my mom to the show. Hello, Mama Subs. How are you?
Hi. I'm fine. How are you?
Oh, I'm fantastic now that I'm talking to you, Mother.
Oh, well, make that more often, please.
Wow.
Anyway.
Spicy.
Ouch, I know. But it's a true zinger. He knows it.
The best part is she knows I can hang up on her at any time.
I know, and I need to behave. I'm sorry. It's the company I keep, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I think you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, when you talk about the 3 different sites, Newport is good, but I'm concerned about, when they start working on that bridge, that's going to be hell to get across. Just think about when they were working on the bridge over the last year and how people had to go around 275, and it's gonna not sell as many tickets, I think, if it's over in Newport. I think if it's over the Rhine, you're going to lose a lot of the families, and you're going to lose some of the silver sneakers. It's just not an area that's for everyone. But I think Oakley is kind of that central spot that will appeal to all. It is hip enough for those hipsters. It's friendly enough and urban neighborhood type enough for the older people and families. I just think it's the best site.
Fair enough. I'm with you. As far as the Oakley site goes, I'm on board with it. I should say I don't have a preference to any of the locations. For me, it's really just about getting it done and getting into MLS. And I think what a lot of folks are concerned with is Oakley urban enough? Is it going to fit the criteria of MLS and their expansion committee? And Jeff Birding, he mentioned it last night on the Lance McAllister show. He said that MLS is on board with Oakley, so that's good as well.
Yeah. Well, and when you think in terms of Hyde Park area, Oakley is exploding. It is just exploding with growth in residences and in businesses. It's not the little tiny community that serviced Millicron in the past. It really is an expansion area.
Yeah, and I think the other point that probably plays into your dislike of Newport is apparently you can't throw streamers in Kentucky. So
yeah, no. Thank you. I guess I'll never live this down. I didn't throw
You got my dad to laugh. Bill. That's fantastic.
She's part of the battalion now, though.
Not an easy thing to do. Anyway,
she's a lieutenant.
Anyway, I can take it. Look, I had Nick. Come on, I can take it.
Woo!
So those are just my thoughts. I'm speaking from a family standpoint. I'm speaking from closer to that silver sneaker time. Don't you say anything. And then, I just think it's not just you guys, your age group that's at these games. It's a lot of families.
Yeah,
thanks for including me in that age group, by the way.
She makes a great point. I know Birding and the team have said the majority of the season ticket holders are out on that east side. Kenwood, Milford. I know Loveland's a little bit north of that, but I know a lot of the season ticket base is out that way, and it gets the stadium even closer to them. So she definitely makes good points. In addition to that gentleman earlier who was pro Oakley about why it's so attractive to the club.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that today. Is like if they put a stadium in the heart of downtown or even Newport, you might actually lose some of those suburban families, from Westchester, Loveland, Mason. They might not want to make that drive, but Oakley might just be close enough that they will.
Hey, Mom, do me a favor. Put Dad on the phone.
Hold on. Here he is.
What's up?
Hey, I got a question for you.
Okay.
So when you were working all those years at Millicron, did you ever think that there would be a soccer stadium where you used to walk around every day for work?
No. I never thought there was going to be all those stores, I mean, there's out there in the parking lot, out there in front of Target, I used to practice my golf shots at lunchtime, and that's where we played softball, and we had a nice lodge over there. I mean, it was unbelievable.
and now it's a parking lot.
And it's soon to be what looks like it could be a soccer stadium.
Back in the back. This is true.
So you had to make the drive every day down 75, down the Norwood Lateral during rush hour. Talk about traffic. Was it a problem?
The going in wasn't as much of a problem because we started pretty early, but going home was. So we're talking 4:00. That area, just going across the Norwood Lateral and then north on 75 was just 75 was pretty much just stop and go traffic. It's still that way today. I don't think anything's changed.
It still sucks going across the river, though.
Right.
Well, you give the phone to your dad and expect to have a conversation with him, and Mom still finds a way to chime in. I love it, Mom.
Hey, my phone.
Well, thank you for your call tonight.
But anyway, that was the traffic there. Now, I don't know about 71 because we were going up 75.
Yeah.
So that, but then, I just know at rush hour. So, I mean, if we're going to a game in the evening, you're going to be going the other way. And Saturdays, the traffic's not going to be that bad. It's going to be closer than going to Nippert for us. So it'll be great.
Good stuff. We should have more of these conversations, Dad.
Okay. Well, good job.
And you too, Mom. Appreciate the call. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for retweeting every single thing that we do, Mom. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right.
Love you guys.
Take care,
Bye.
guys. Bye.
That's two of the I don't want to say founding members of the 513 Streamer Battalion. We sent them to the sky. They told us goodbye for being thrown out of the game down in Louisville for doing something they weren't supposed to do. Thanks for the call, guys.
Hi.
Comrades.
Griff, I had a chance to show that off, your little Streamer Battalion.
Other camera subs.
What are you talking
we
about?
can see it on Facebook.
You can see it. You got to remember, you're seeing me on a different camera.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, but it's just showing off your little what do you call it? A badge, patch, sticker.
Is that that's the decal? I got more badges actually. I got more badges and decals if anybody wants one.
So how can folks get those?
Just shoot me a message on Twitter. All the proceeds go to the sports games for kids. So it's for good cause.
Oh man, I think that's about time we wrap things up, guys. I can't believe that hour flew by. A lot of good calls tonight. A lot of good takes about the stadium. We're about 4 to 5 weeks away from MLS making their announcement as far as the next 4 cities in MLS expansion. There's still to be and I'm sure there will be an official press conference or an official announcement coming from FC Cincinnati here very soon regarding the stadium. So I'm going to throw it to these guys one more time. If you had to pick today, where is the stadium going to be built? I'll start with you, Griff.
I got to pick Oakley. I think the more I think about it, the more potential it has. So I'm going to go with Oakley.
All right, Griff's going with Oakley. How about you, Bill?
I was pretty hot on Oakley until Portune went back to Paul Brown this morning. But no, I think we're looking at Oakley at this point. It seems like that's where the trend is going, and I think we've been trying to find a location in Ohio, and this looks like it's going to be the best choice at this point.
I'm throwing it to you now, Brad. Where's it going to be built?
Well, I have a question. How long did it take for the banks to get built? 10 years more? How long did it take for Newport and Levy get built? I think even though we might have a plan, a roadmap in place in Cincinnati, I just don't see it all coming together between the conflict between what city council's saying versus commissioners, what FC Cincinnati wants to get done, versus you have a beautiful location right there in Newport, right on the river. It looks major league. You can sell it to MLS's major league. It's a home run. I think the roadmap is a lot simpler there. Yeah, we might be in Kentucky, but screw it. Put FC Cincinnati in Newport if it can't be on the OTR.
So Brad's going with Newport, huh?
Yep.
Wow.
I'm in the bag.
I'll see you on the water ferry, Brad.
Hey, dude. I'll carry the flag.
Is there an Applebee's on the river?
Griffin's putting them everywhere.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There used to be
starting a chain. Endless apps if you're wearing orange.
And Flair, right? Oh, that's Fridays. That's Friday.
You go to Hofbrauhaus, you walk from the Hofbrauhaus to the stadium. It's perfect. It's perfect. It feels community. I don't even know why we're screwing around with these bozos who keep wanting to jack F Cincinnati around when, from all what we hear, Newport's ready to have us. So let's go.
Oh man, if I had to make a guess today, who knows? I mean, things can change so quickly in this landscape regarding MLS and expansion. I guess I'm gonna have to say Oakley.
Boo.
I'll say it though with this caveat. I'm pretty sure we're nowhere close to having anything set in stone. There is still. I mean, who knows? There could be a press conference next week that they've got an agreement there at the West End. So who knows?
Yeah, get that bid and then we'll figure it out.
That's all that matters at this point, really. To me, just get the bid, get into MLS. You could work out the stadium details later, and I think that's really what they're going for at this point. I don't think they necessarily have to iron down and have a location set for this expansion bid, but I think if they can show the committee that they've got 2 locations they're confident and comfortable building a stadium at, I think a lot of MLS teams right now would wish they could have multiple locations like FC Cincinnati currently does. So at that note, we'll leave it at that. It's been a fun little podcast special. Make sure you get subscribed to Cincinnati Soccer Talk on iTunes or Android or Google phone or whatever kind of phone you got. Make sure you get subscribed so you don't miss a single episode of this podcast. It was kind of an impromptu, quickly thrown together show this morning. And sometimes we have those, and we don't want you to miss them. So make sure you get subscribed. CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com is where you can find out all the details on how you can get subscribed. So on that note, it's time to get out of here. My thanks to Bill Wolf, Brad Weigel, and Brian Griffin for joining me this week here on the show. If you want to get in touch with us after the fact, if you've got feedback regarding this episode and about the stadium, hit us up, feedback@CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. I'm Subes, reminding you to watch your tackles, and we will see you all next week.